All right, hello and welcome to the Kelcast, the Hearthstone Arena podcast where we try to get better without cursing. I'm Keldar, a longtime Infinite Arena leaderboard player and streamer on Twitch. Joining me as my co-host is another Arena leaderboard player, that is Kellen Abel. If you want to find us on social media, remember that you can search Keldar on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. That's Keludar. All right, Kellen, we're back. So what are we looking at this week?
Well, a new set's coming out this week. It's not a big set. It's one of the mini sets, but it's the I think they're calling it the Wailing Caverns Mini Set. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of new little fun stuff, and it brings us something new to the game that we have not seen before. So we'll get into the details of that in a few seconds.
Yeah, it's great for us because it gives us a little bit of content to talk about. Now, they have not announced it yet that I've seen, but there will be, if they follow cadence, there should be a arena rotation with the mini set released. So we will actually be probably saying goodbye to, Gadget Sand. I don't remember, what's the other wild set that's in right now? Oh, it's Rise of Shadows. So we'll be saying goodbye to those sets. Just to give you the information, it's going to launch on June 3rd. There's going to be 35 new cards, and you can either use 2,000 gold or you can buy the set for $14.99. And I think that's they've made a good, it's a small change, but they made a good change allowing people to use their gold to buy this stuff, since there really wasn't a lot of stuff to use your gold on other than arena things before. So you can buy like heroes and old card things. So it's nice that they did add that to the game.
I can't believe how much gold I have right now, just racked up from all the level ups. I thought it would be, everybody at the beginning was so nervous about the leveling system, and it's just worked out so well for total gold value for heavy players like us.
Yeah,
heavy
and the thing,
players.
yeah, for infinite players, like we actually are making like more gold because we are getting a higher rate of gold, at least until we hit level 100. Like we just get extra gold that we didn't get before, and that's a nice thing. Like they actually didn't change a lot in terms of increase a ton of gold that they're giving out, but they made it so like you don't have to wait so long to get like the amount of gold. So that makes it feel a lot better. They definitely did improve it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we gonna talk about first, Kellen?
So I want to talk about the 3-mana minions that are for each class that have a specific battle cry. So just as if you haven't seen them yet, one of them is a mage 3-mana 2/3 battle cry. Draw a spell. If it's a frost spell, summon 2 1/1 elementals that freeze, and it's Frostweave Dungeoneer. Yep. And there's something similar for each class. They haven't released them for every class yet, but I believe they'll probably be for every class. They're all 3-mana 2/3s with a battle cry, draw a spell, and then if it's a spell with the school that's most closely associated with the class, then you get a bonus on that. Yeah. These cards are obviously just straight up fantastic in Arena. The 3-mana 2/3 battle cry, draw a spell, I would take that no matter what. It's just a good card. I can't think of I don't know. Can you find something comparable to that? Like, it's better than a Discover, I think, right? Since it's a drafted spell.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, yeah, it's a great mechanic, and like you get to draw a spell no matter what. So you get to draw, and then basically if you get the theme that you're looking for, you actually get a bonus. And the bonus for some of, especially the Shaman one's really strong because if you get a nature spell, you actually draw another card. You draw an elemental. Yeah. So that and that we all know that if you've seen Shaman decks over the last for a long time, like with now that there's nature spells, like if you get that nature spell, you're gonna draw an elemental almost 80% of the time.
Oh my gosh. So actually this is something I want to talk about because this is something we've never really seen before at the common or rare spot where the way you draft your deck is drastically affected by the card you pick if you get one of these early. Mm-hmm. We've seen this before they have done this before, but it's typically in legendaries. So we've seen it with Renos, with all of the singleton cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say singletons where you see it, where we kind of did this before. Yeah.
Right, and then we saw it also with the cards that if you have only that card, only that legendary creature at your mana curve slot. So the 4-drop that was, I cannot remember what those cards were.
The Golem. There's the Kazakus with the Golem. So if you don't have any 4-mana cards other than that one, you get to make a Golem, and they have a couple other ones like it. They had
the 2-mana 2/2 was a problem.
Yeah, that was Prince Keleseth, and that was really crazy.
So they've had those before, but those are legendary cards. And I think one of the most fun times I've ever had playing Arena is drafting around those cards, taking them early or taking them in the middle and figuring out if you can still adjust your draft to fit those specific cards. These cards are our first opportunity to have that same experience at the rare level, so we'll see them a lot more often. I mean, you're likely to see one of these cards at rare, right? I think you're what is it? An average rare card? You're 70% to see it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I pulling that out of my?
Well, you have it's I don't know what the actual percentage is, but it's very you're going to see these cards pretty often for sure.
So let's say we've got these. You draft a shaman deck and you get a primal dungeoneer early. Well, now you have a whole different way of looking at the draft. Because taking advantage of that card and drawing an additional elemental, which I don't foresee to be very difficult, there's some great elementals in the format right now, and I assume there will be more printed in the future. You're going to want to trigger this Primal Dungeoneer, so you may try to take nature spells only and skip cards that you would normally take, and it might be worth it. So one of the things Hearthstone has not done throughout the years is allow us to change how we value our cards based on anything other than curve. And I really like where this is taking us, and I hope it opens up some design space for how you build arena sets in the future. Especially because other games have been exploring this space recently, and it's been very helpful for them. Legends of Runeterra and Magic are rocking it with this exact type of deck building situation for Limited, and it's been a lot of fun. People are loving it, and I think that's going to come out. I think this is going to be a really positive experience for Hearthstone as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because there's levels of the strategy with it. For instance, the easiest one I can think of is the singleton. So like the old Kazakus, I used to tell people back when Kazakus first came out, and that was the one where you get to make a spell. And that one was a little bit easier, in my opinion, to pull off than the next one that we have from this format. But the thing I used to tell people is like a lot of people, if they saw it pick 20 and they had, three cards that were duplicates, they just didn't even think about it. And then certain decks, like especially Priest or Warlock, where you have more cards to draw and it's slower, I actually thought it was totally fine. Or that they would make the mistake of never taking a duplicate once they had one to make sure it triggered, which isn't always wrong. But like if it's up against the second mind control, like back in the day, like I was like, I'm going to take the second mind control, and just like if that card sits a little bit, like maybe it'll suck sometimes, but I'm going to lose more games by not taking the duplicate. So like it does add an element, because now it's going to be like you see this, the shaman card's a great example, because it's like you get a nature spell and an elemental, and it's like you're in the draft and you draft a couple nature spells, and then you see I'm pretty sure Hex isn't a nature spell, if I'm not mistaken, but you see one that's strong that's not a nature spell, and it's like, well, do you actually take the chance to like make sure you get the extra draw, or do you pass the strong card? And I think in most cases, it's almost always correct to not push into the synergy too hard.
It is a nature spell.
Oh, is it a nature spell? Okay, sorry.
I had to look it up though.
No, it's okay. But anyway, like I was trying to think of an example of a strong card that wasn't nature, but
well, I think that's actually what you just said is a good point. It's hard to, because most of Shaman's best spells are nature, but yeah.
Yeah. So it adds an element of drafting, like, because I think some people overthink the what the card does and tries too hard to get the synergy, not realizing that just drawing a spell by itself is good. So you shouldn't destroy your deck's quality just because you're trying to perfect the synergy. But at the same time, if it doesn't, there's like a line, right? Like,
so I think that's what I like about these so much, is that the line is very blurred, because you can draft a deck that has only nature spells and you can be really aggressive on taking them. But if you're offered if you're offered a legendary spell that's very good in your deck, like Storm, like the 6 mana spell that changes all your minions into whatever, like, you should probably take that, or something like that. And then guess what? Primal Dungeoneer is only a good card. It only draws you a great card from your deck. And most of the time, it's still going to draw you a nature spell, and you'll still get your elemental. But sometimes you'll draw your legendary spell instead. Oh no, what a shame. I'm so sorry that you only got a 3 mana 2/3 draw your best card in your deck. Oh well.
Yeah. So here's a couple examples. Like for instance, we're talking about nature spells and shaman just because it's an example of one of the cards that you're going to be drafting with. Like there's devolving missiles, guidance, some good ones. There's also Oh, no, Chain Lightning is nature. Okay. There's a lot of them that I thought wasn't nature that are nature. But you're not going to turn down and even Molten Blast is really strong. So yeah, you're not going to turn, or Totemic Reflection, you're not going to turn those cards down necessarily just because, just because of the fact that you are going to be able to draw another elemental. Especially if it's maybe you just take one card that's not nature, but that still means you're going to have an 80% chance to draw an elemental. So that's still fine.
I think that's what I like about these cards is you can draft around them and focus. I think the mage one is even more relevant since it produces board presence immediately. It creates 2 1/1 elementals that freeze if you draw a frost spell. You can draft that is really strong. That's a 3 mana 4/5 that has split over 3 bodies. That's just really good and also draws you a card. I think that's probably the most powerful one in terms of initial return on investment in the short term.
Right.
And I would consider not taking Fireball if I had that card. But if I already had 2 Fireballs in my deck, I'm not going to pass it. It still fits in my deck. It's still a good card in my deck. It's just not as good as it could be in a deck that was devoted to it. So I think that's one of the things that we've struggled with in the past where that this type of design has struggled with in the past, where Kazakus, there are decks where you couldn't take Kazakus, either one of them, the no 4-drops or the no duplicates. I've certainly had decks with 3 copies of a 3-drop in a rogue deck, and there's just no way I'm ever gonna get that Kazakus singleton thing to trigger. You're always gonna take Frostweave Dungeoneer in Mage. There's no deck you don't want it in. It's just that you can also draft a deck around it. So they really hit the sweet spot where it's a good card in every deck, and it's a great card in decks that draft around it.
I don't know if this was... See, I don't know how much I trust Blizzard in terms of their design sometimes, but I will say that I think the immediate effect for the Mage one particularly is the strongest. It's the strongest onboard presence, for sure, immediately, because it actually puts stuff on the board. But at the same time, they balanced it. If they had made this draw a arcane or a fire spell, I think it would have actually made the card broken, because the frost spells generally, not that they're not all bad, but it's definitely for Mage the weakest of the schools in terms of the power level of the cards. So they can kind of balance it with the schools a little bit, because you have Flurry, Freezing Potion, Ray of Frost, Snap Freeze, Cone of Cold, Ice Barrier. There are a couple really strong ones like Brain Freeze and Deep Freeze and the Oasis Ally, but the other ones are not really that good. So you're definitely not gonna draft only frost spells as a mage. That's just not gonna happen. But if you end up high rolling and getting the frost spell, you're gonna be really rewarded. But you gotta also remember, like we were saying, a 3 mana 2/3 that draws one of your spells is still really good. So it's not, you would still want it even if it didn't have the secondary condition, Yeah. So
can we talk about some other fun cards they've made in the past that that allowed for deck building? I think one of the ones we've talked about this deck before on the podcast, but it's I think one of my favorite co-oping experiences we've ever had. And now it's that Druid Legendary, the 2 mana 2/3.
I knew you were gonna bring that one up. Yeah,
I just love that card. The 2 mana 2/3. Can you look that card up?
I will. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I'll find it in a second. Yeah.
So that card is it's a 2 mana 2/3. It says whenever you play a choose one card, you get a copy of the other half of the spell.
Yeah, it's Keeper Steladris. Yeah.
Okay, Keeper Steladris. Yes, that card. That we had a deck a long while ago. I think did it have one of those or two of those? I don't remember.
We only had one, but we had 5 living roots or something.
That's what it was. So because we had that Keeper Steladris, whatever. Steladris. I don't know. We ended up drafting every single living roots we saw, even in some picks where we wouldn't necessarily have taken them. And it was so much fun. That is one of the most fun experiences drafting I've ever had, because we were able to find a theme, build onto that theme, and we were rewarded as a result. We got 12 with that deck easily. So I think, and there's been some other experiences. I know you can draft magnetic decks. I've done that before, where I focus, especially in Paladin with the one Glowtron. I think that's been a very fun experience.
Dude. I had a deck that had 6 of those in it, and it was the most insane deck.
Yeah, so they've given us a few opportunities here and there. It doesn't usually feel intentional. Like that Druid Legendary, I don't think they intended for an arena deck to be built around it. It just happened to be something we picked up early, and we were offered 5 living roots, so we were able to do it.
Can I also mention that we had 3 Power of the Wilds in that deck, so like we were spreading out, getting free 1 mana 2 damage spells, in our hand, and also just buffing everything. It was so crazy.
That was a fun one, but we just don't see that kind of stuff often, and I love when it happens. So I don't know. There's been a couple other things. I think there's been a warrior weapon deck that I've drafted before in some formats.
Oh, you know was a great example, the Spellstone metas.
There you go. Yes, I definitely have played a warrior Spellstone meta. Absolutely, I've done that
because it was multiple classes too. You could do it with the mage one with the elementals. We had the well, initially the hunter one was insane. They had to nerf it.
That's right. So but you know what? It's really fun to draft those decks, even when they're too powerful. So I think in the past they've accidentally created those decks, and here it looks like they're intending to, and they've made sure the cards are good when they're not in those decks. So no one's going to be punished for taking that and having it not work out. I'm really impressed with the design of these cards. I think it's going to lead to some very fun drafts, and I already think the draft is the most fun part of playing Arena, and I think this just makes it even better.
Well, I always talk about the highest average or highest placement. I think maybe not the highest average, but the highest placement on the leaderboard I ever got was when they did the synergy picks. So, and what's interesting about it was, it was very terribly done. But the funny thing was people just kind of like. The thing was people thought it was so bad, they thought it was a joke. They didn't really pay attention. But Dreads and me Dreads did better than me. He got 9.4 or whatever. But, like immediately I remember watching his stream and even thinking to myself, like him and I like figured out that like, yes, it's stupid and it's a really dumb mechanic. But wait, I can draft Dinosaur Egg in Warlock and like actually make it something and theme my deck around it and actually just like make the cards that normally you just can't count on to have the power spikes because you don't know if you're going to get the supported cards. All of a sudden, you can draft them so early. The problem was they just picked the wrong cards for it. And frankly, this is what I want to get to, is I do notice a change in their thought processes, which is I do think Blizzard is making an attempt to make more themes in their decks. Like, for instance, right now, they took away Druid's ability to do Savage Roar, but now they're making kind of like, you can do Taunt Druid in Arena. You can do, you can make certain types of decks. So it's interesting. Like, I wonder sometimes what if they did, imagine like the Spellstone meta, right? But you were able, I don't know what others, but just imagine if you were able to actually, between like, maybe you got an option of like 5 different themes, right? And you got to pick a Spellstone or that to start out your draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the problem, the problem before was they didn't have enough cards that had themes that really could, or the cards with them to support the themes that they were building. But I think that they're getting to that now a little bit. So
I think this is the best version they've done, because the cards, like Devilsaur Egg is a terrible card on its own. It absolutely needs the synergy cards to be good. Otherwise, it is a useless card. Yeah. And even when it's not completely useless, it's still useless in the sense that it takes too long to trigger. So, I love the way these cards are designed. I think that the fact that they're good when they're at their best makes it more interesting to pick them. So, yeah, I think that's all I got for it. I'm very happy with it. I'm looking forward to drafting around them and drafting with them.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool. It's a cool thing when you get themes. Like, I remember one of the first we had when they brought Jades out, because we have Jades in Arena right now. I remember, I'm not throwing them under the bus, but I do remember that like the Grinning Goat like predicted like Jades is going to be insane. It's going to be everywhere. And it really wasn't. I don't know why it didn't quite work out that way, but it's just funny because like it would have been really scary if it had been as good as maybe some of us thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no kidding.
But like, yeah, it's interesting because like it takes a lot of cards for a theme to work, especially in Arena. There has to be a ton of support for it. It has to be like 10 cards or something. Like, you can't just have like 3 cards that like work together. That just, you're not going to see them come together enough to make any sense. Right. It's actually one of the reasons I've started to wonder. I've always been an advocate for wild Arena, where like there's wild sets in Arena. But I've started to wonder with these themes, like, would it actually be better if they're going to keep up with these themes, maybe it would be better for Arena to be standard for that reason, because you would get more of the themes built into Arena. So like, as much as I still am probably a little bit more pro Wild, but I could see more of the other side now because, you know, like for instance, like they have the Taunt Druid synergy. They have the 2/3 that the Razor main card, and they have another one that, like, you know, a lot of big taunts that you can go with it. And, you know, maybe they're going to keep adding that support to the class, you know, but because we're doing wild sets, maybe we won't get them. So it is kind of an interesting, it adds some interesting debates about what is the best way to do Arena, though it does sound, I'm not going to go into all the details now, but it definitely sounds like Arena is at least on their like planning board right now to like look at how to make it better.
I'm so happy to hear that. The tweets from Mixar have been really promising. I'm very happy.
Yeah, he talked a lot about matchmaking and how basically all Arena players they basically have an MMR number, they have a skill number, so they can prove that basically how much that skill is impacting win rates. But they are not using it they're not using it for matchmaking, but it is there, which is interesting. It's available. I don't know if I want it in there, but it is what it is. So yeah, this was a cool little topic. We got to talk about some themes. And we might even, to be honest, they released those cards together for a reason, I think, to show a mechanic / a theme that will be there, but there might even be some more. Like, I don't know, I don't know if there's going to be one for every class, because they've definitely done mechanics like this where it wasn't available for all. So I don't know if there's going to be a Dungeoneer for every single. That might just be these 3. Well, we don't know yet. We'll find out. So it's definitely a cool set. It's going to be kind of like murky and mysterious and, creeping around in the dark. The Murloc that they released is fucking creepy as shit looking. It's scary. So, all right. I think that's going to do it. Like I said, this coming week, I guess, I don't know what day it's going to be. Tuesday or Wednesday, we're probably going to do an earlier podcast to just go over the cards real quick. And then we probably wouldn't do a podcast on Saturday, because the other advantage of us doing that is then it gives us time to play and kind of see what the arena sets are going to be. Like I said, another announcement is there's going to be a rotation. They haven't announced it, but it's been that way every time that they do a rotation when they do the mini set. So that should be coming up. All right, that's going to do it for the 17th episode of the Kelcast. Remember, you can join us live 8 p.m. Eastern every week on Twitch on Saturdays, or you can download the podcast wherever you get your podcast every Monday. You can also find me on Twitch, where I stream daily 7 a.m. Eastern, or you can go to YouTube or Twitter by searching Keludar. That's Keludar. I already kind of told you about next week. I did that early by accident, but yeah, we'll be doing an arena. We'll do a review of the cards that are revealed. So we'll do a little mini card review, and we'll probably do also a very small kind of prep of the arena sets as well. So we'll do kind of both together. We should be able to cover all that. Also want to say again, thanks to John Laux for the music, for the intro and the outro. I'm sorry. You can find links to all our contributors in the show notes. This has been the Kelcast. See you next week.
All right. So Kel, 2 weeks ago, we talked about games we've been playing.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about what games you've been playing and what games I've been playing, because we mentioned some.
Okay.
But I am deep into Hades, man. I love Hades. I can't believe how much fun it is. I'm in like the higher levels of Heat now, and I've been playing so much. It's an absolute blast. I recommend it. I think it got a bunch of awards at some game
Hades, I can say, and I can't even say I've really gone as deep into it as I could have. Like, I played it pretty good for a week, and then I mean to get back. It actually is a game I mean to get back to, but I can immediately tell you from just the week that I played it, it is definitely the best game of the 2020, in my opinion. Like, it's not even close. I think it's like just one of the best well-designed games I've ever seen. It's really good.
It's so much fun, and I keep thinking that I'm getting to the end, or like I know everything about the game, and it keeps throwing something new at me, and I just can't believe that I've played however many hours and it still throws new stuff at me. I'm so impressed. So yeah, good game.
I really am surprised with. I guess I heard they're not really planning on I don't think they're planning any expansions or anything extra, which kind of makes me sad, because man, I just kind of there's like it would be such a good game to add extra things into, but
You could add new weapons or new
I'm sure there'll
gods.
be. I don't know if there's modding in the game. I'm sure there is. Probably there's modding and everything. But I will tell you that like that company, I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on my rant about it, but the art's good, the UI is good, the gameplay is good, it's replayable, it's just amazing.
Yep.
I've been playing the crap out of The Witcher 3, which is part of why I haven't been streaming.
Really? The Witcher 3, huh?
I love that
didn't
game.
know that.
Yeah. Did you ever play it?
I never did. I never got into The Witcher. I mean, the Hades is one of the first games I've played where I'm running around. I played World of Warcraft a lot, but
Yeah.
most of my games are card games. I don't really branch out from that very much.
Yeah, I would say I would Witcher, if you're gonna try a game like that, that's more running around. I think Witcher 3 like gives me the feels of like playing like EverQuest or like an MMO a little bit. It just kind of I can't explain it, but the world is like immersive enough that kind of gives me that feeling. The other thing I've been doing is enjoying the crap ton out of these playtests for Ashes of Creation. Now we're doing sieges. Yeah. And like listen, so I went up on top of this real quick. I went up, I guess like I did a siege and I didn't know like they did. I mean, I knew kind of what it was, but I wasn't sure what all would be available for like the mechanics and stuff, or like if they'd have like siege weapons and stuff. And I started I started on the team that was inside the castle, and I ran up on top, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like it's so well done. And the graphics, like one thing I got to say, like they had 150 players versus 150 players. And I could not believe how well the servers held up. Like there was no lag. I was like, this is an alpha test. I was like, holy crap. Like, because we've been struggling a lot. Like from what we've been seeing as play testers is a lot of, shutdowns and things not working with the servers. But it's obvious that they are figuring it out really quickly. Because like we did that and like there was like all kinds of, they don't even have all the particle effects in, but all the particle effects are shooting down and like it's still not lagging. And I was like, wow, this game is like pretty well optimized for what it is. But the best part was I ran up to a ballista on the top of the wall, and I didn't even know, like a lot of games in the past I played with siege weapons, like they just kind of like, you kind of aim them kind of from a third person perspective, but I got into the seat of the ballista and it was a first person shot where like the length of the ballista is like right in front of me and I can move it back and forth, like shoot, like it has like, the, like kind of like a sniper rifle. And it was really cool. I felt very powerful sitting there with my big ballista, with my massive arrows. You know what a ballista is, Kellen? Do you know what it is?
I'm very familiar with ballistas, yes.
Yeah, it was cool. So I was excited. It was fucking great. Right, I had to get a bleep.
Well, let's go watch some basketball.
Yeah, we got basketball tonight. That's why we're early. Sorry, guys.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Peace out, Brad.
Brad.